Hello again, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf and Eric Sfiligoj together.
First of 2019.
Yeah, awesome. So,
Still going to have to get used to writing that on my checks.
yeah, and there's nothing outside to clue us in. It's actually winter since it's been in the 40s, and we have not had a measurable snowfall. I think I've had one day so far where I've been able to make a snowball if I really wanted to. Throw it at the neighbor. But no, I have not. We just haven't had any kind of anything so far.
No, it has definitely been a brown Christmas, brown holiday season here in Ohio. So if you have snow where you're at,
too bad. So yeah, I think I can take partial credit for it because we had. I bought a snowblower last year.
So you did it, okay.
Yeah, I finally invested in that. My wife was, after much cajoling, said, you really need to, because I spent my life working really, really hard behind a computer, and God knows I've, taxed my muscles and joints. Yeah, feel really bad for me. So now I need a snowblower, and of course I'm not using it at all. So.
All right. Well, you going someplace though where they might use snowblowers?
I am. I'm going to Kansas next week. See Sims Fertilizer and talk to some farmer folks there about some of the issues they want to talk about dicamba. Although I'll only lightly touch on it because they are saving their rotten tomatoes for the poor extension guys. They have to go and actually explain what farmers have to do differently next year, which will be. It'll vary from state to state. I know I've seen I saw a 30 or 40 point list from Indiana that came out about some of the differences this year. But again, it's, as they said at the very top, it's Indiana only. So there are specific things that everyone's going to have to do training-wise and product-wise and otherwise. So I'm sure there'll be a group of happies. But I'm going to go on first. And if it gets ugly, I'll just
step out quickly. Yes.
Step quickly out the door. So dicamba will definitely be on the agenda, and then of course when you hear about tariffs, just talk about the market in general and where things are headed a little bit from the retailer perspective. I'm sure it'd be interesting to hear what's going on in other states as well as nationally, and some of the things that we might be picking up on. So that'll be a fun day.
And you mentioned the tariffs. I know the only thing to add about that is I know that a lot of the growers are going to get some relief help from the government because of the tariffs, and they're suffering through a program that the Trump administration announced earlier back in 2018. But I guess, Paul, from what I'm reading, the government shutdown may affect that in some way regarding new claims. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens there.
Yeah, I don't. Who can predict what will happen? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Very crazy.
So we were talking a little bit beforehand about genetics and genetic modification and terminology and
right. Yeah, I guess some researchers at the University of Illinois have announced that they've been able to increase the yield for tobacco plants using a gene technology. It basically kind of tweaks the genes in the plants that are already there to increase the photorespiration ability of the plant, making it faster, which means that the plant has more time to focus on increasing its yield down the line. So this is new technology, Paul. I know folks online were saying no GMOs. This doesn't sound like it's GMO technology in the classic sense. But the scientists are now going to try to replicate this yield boost in crops like potatoes and soybeans. So possibly down the line, maybe 10 years or so, we might be seeing some of this gene boosting ability for crops in the U.S. come to fruition.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot about that over the years. Technologies that are going to kind of supplanting, the genetic modification and really being an improvement. You're finding ways to actually use the plant that you have and make modifications as opposed to actually modifying the genes, putting them back in the plant, and more of a much less of a shotgun approach than it's ever been. Yeah. There was a discussion on Twitter about a term I saw. It was synthetic biology. My friend Kevin Folta down in down in Florida tweeted about, he's a nutritionist, and he's been a defender of GMOs and, the whole, the biotech, and trying to get people to understand what they really are and to dispel some of the false notions. And I kind of said, he had listed, he shared a story with 4 synthetic biology developments, and they're really amazing things that they can do. I just kind of pointed out synthetic biology is not exactly the happiest term I would use to describe some of these things, and some are certainly related to food, food and nutrition, and it's gonna, the technology should allow smaller companies to come in. You've got more startups, startups that are looking to share the technology so that other companies can take that technology to the next level. So there's really as opposed to what we saw earlier, and Monsanto, to their credit, were fully committed, but they were a single company really as a driving force behind it, and became more of a villain, I think, unfortunately for everyone. There's smaller companies developing these technologies, hopefully, that will allow more development to come organically. I say, no pun intended, but to come from smaller companies that are kind of working together to make a difference, as opposed to one giant behemoth that can be pointed at as some sort of villain. Yeah. So that may help too. I don't know.
I was going to say, it's interesting as always. When we transition from one year to the next, a lot of the talk in the early part of the year, which we are now in, has to do with looking a little farther forward than just the coming growing season. So, yeah, these technologies that are being developed. Again, plant genetics are very efficient. I know people, talking about dicamba earlier. Folks have mentioned that even with dicamba damage the last year or two, with the unwanted drift out there, that the yields were still pretty good for the plants. So, scientists improving that even more. I mean, again, boosting the yield, that's what we're looking for to feed a growing population.
So the rest of January we got coming. You have something soon.
Yes, actually, in 2 weeks I'll be at the Wisconsin Agribusiness Classic, visiting my friends up there. And then at the end of the month, a little change in scheduling for the folks at the Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association. They're holding their annual meeting in Peoria on the 29th and 30th of January this year. So, fall, I'll be heading north myself as you are heading south. So.
Yeah, I've got Sims next week, and then I'm in Seattle the week after for the Precision Ag Vision Conference. Really looking forward to that for most of that week, and then the week after that I'm going to North Dakota.
Oh, so you are. I thought you were heading north. Yeah,
North Dakota to talk about precision and. Actually, precision value, and I think it's growers in the room, and some retailers, some agronomists, and we'll talk about just how to create value and success stories and things like that. So it should be interesting.
Very good. Well, to everyone out there who watches us, Happy New Year. Enjoy 2019 as we get going, and hopefully it'll be a good, successful year for everyone.
That's it for this Retail Week, and we'll see you next week.